Hi everybody, welcome back to our Welcome Back to Wellbeing event. We are halfway through now and delighted to hand over to our friends from Home Start in Suffolk who are taking this next session. If you've been listening to some of our other sessions today, you would have heard us talking about how volunteering is so good for our mental health. To expand on that, I'm going to hand over to Jean Rogers, who's going to host this session, and Tara Spence from Home Start in Suffolk. Hi, how you doing?
We're good, thanks, Brad.
Yeah, good to see you, and thanks for joining in today and taking this session. I'll hand over to you, and then I'll be back at the finish.
Okay, I'll hand over to Jean to make a start.
Okay, thank you very much, Brad, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Jean, and I'd like to welcome everybody to our session on why volunteering is really good for your own mental health. Giving just an hour or maybe 2 to 3 hours each week is a great way to benefit how you can enhance your own well-being. It improves your relationships with your family, with your friends and family. And by helping to support another family and their children at the same time, when it's been such a difficult time over this last year, it helps the other family to become more resilient and happier in their own life. It becomes really important. But first, just a few words about Home Start in Suffolk. It's a voluntary family support charity operating in Suffolk. We train volunteers to support families who at least have one child under the age of 12 who live within Suffolk and would like to work with us. We have 3 offices covering Waveney, Ipswich and Bury St Edmunds. And we have a really, really good coverage across the whole county. We're fortunate also to have a team of 270 amazing volunteers, people from all walks of life, ranging from 18 to 88, who represent our communities. And it's a very diverse group. And many of these volunteers have been with us for over 10 years because it works to be a volunteer and help other people. But first, let me show you more about the great work that Home Start in Suffolk does, and we'll show you a short video.
Being diagnosed with the leukemia, it's difficult for Archie to understand sometimes that I can't always spend the time with him. Life for Archie is difficult, not having his dad to be able to do things and be involved like other dads do. Before Home Start also, Archie was struggling at school. When Home Start got involved, we had Thomas sort of come, and it was almost like a sort of light bulb moment. You know, Archie just seemed to suddenly change overnight, and suddenly he was this happy little boy. It's just so nice to just see Archie having that opportunity to play, to be himself, to be the boy that he's supposed to be. He's doing so well at school now. He's fitted into high school really well, and he's got certificates and stuff to prove that he's doing really well.
Before Home Start, I felt like I was always alone because I had no one to play with, and I was always so sad because I'd get home and I'd watch TV or play a game or go outside, and I had nothing to do because I had no one to do it with. When Thomas came along, it I was really happy because I finally had someone to play with. Some of the things me and Thomas would do were go to the park or visit a museum or do anything like that because it was just always so nice to go outside and play and have something to do. I felt like Thomas was someone I could talk to. I felt like if I had something going on I could talk to him and he would be able to help me, and because it made me feel more relaxed around him and I felt more happy. Without Homestar or without Thomas, I think I'd feel really sad and just lonely. I think I'd stop talking to my friends. I feel like I wouldn't be able to have as much fun by doing the things, even with other people, because Thomas was really enjoyable and understanding. He really helped me.
Right, and after the video, I'd like to now hand over to Tara, who's our CEO, to say a few words about why mental health and emotional wellbeing is so good in the voluntary sector.
Thank you very much, Jean. Like Jean says, I'm Tara Spence. I'm the CEO of Homestart Suffolk. I've been at the helm of Homestart for well over 10 years. And in that time, I've had the pleasure and privilege of seeing hundreds of volunteers through their volunteering journey. I hear lots of charities talk about how they'd be lost without their volunteers, and that's certainly the case for Homestart Suffolk. Volunteers make up 96% of our workforce. Each year they donate over 50,000 hours of their time to support over 500 Suffolk families. And there's a good reason they do that. Helping others helps us to feel healthier and happier. Volunteering is an act of kindness, and kindness helps us to increase our feelings of well-being. When we help others, our brains release oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine, and these hormones help to boost our mood and reduce our stress hormones. And of course, it's not just about the positive benefits that we get as volunteers, but actually to the person and people that we're supporting and helping as well. If we take Homestart, for example, 73% of parents and carers that we support feel less isolated as a result of the support they get from their volunteers, and 67% gain improved self-esteem. To help me tell you a bit about the benefits of volunteering, I'm going to introduce my panel of guests. You've already met Jean, but Jean is our volunteer recruitment coordinator. She's responsible for promoting our volunteer opportunities to people all across the county. She works with potential volunteers throughout the recruitment and induction stage. Ros is one of our team of family support coordinators, and her role is to look after the relationship between the family and the volunteer and to make sure that our families get the best experience they can from Homestart. Claire is one of our team of 200 and something volunteers. She joined us as a volunteer last year after a career in the education sector and has actively been supporting a family since then. Caroline recently joined our board of trustees. That's a group of volunteers that work with me to set the vision and strategic direction and make sure the charity is running well. Caroline joins us with the extra knowledge of having previously had support from Homestart. Between us, we aim to give you an idea of the general wellbeing benefits to volunteering. And if you've got a question, just pop it in the question and answers box and they'll be flagged up to us. Okay, so to get started, Jean, as a volunteer recruitment coordinator, you speak to lots of people that are interested in volunteering. What are some of the main reasons people are interested or want to undertake a volunteer role?
When the volunteer first contacts us, they generally, more or less without exception, most people say that they've got some time on their hands and they've got time to give back. And they've realised, for whatever reason in their life, that they've either benefited from help from other people or through the skills that they may have gained professionally, that they've got some experience that they can share with other people. So we get some people from the professional caring sector, and we get others who also perhaps have had a Homestart volunteer in the past, and they've got some time to give back and they want to genuinely help other people.
Thanks, that's really helpful. Ros, I'm guessing that not everybody that comes to Homestart is a professional. Do people come with other types of experience?
Absolutely. We don't have an ideal volunteer. Diversity is key, whether that's their experience, their knowledge, gender, age, cultural background. Everyone has something to offer. And it's really just, we ask a commitment to undertake the training course and be willing to give up whatever free time you can to support other families.
Thanks, Ros. Claire, can you tell us why you decided to volunteer? We just need to unmute you.
Yes, as Tara said earlier, I have worked in education and I've recently retired, and I was keen to, first of all, share my skills and also sort of develop new skills through an organisation that I had contact with as a professional, and I knew the difference that they could make. And I think working through that first lockdown, I was really aware of the additional challenges and stresses put on families at this particular time, and I wanted to get involved.
Thanks, Claire. And Caroline, it's not just during a pandemic that people need help. Could you tell us a bit about why you had support from Home Start?
Yes, when Home Start came into our lives, when I say we, I mean myself and my family, we were going through a lot of crisis. I couldn't help but when I saw the video that Jean, played the video, it just reminded me of myself. When you have a mom with too many challenges, so much work, looking after the kids, and I was in a point where I just moved into a new neighborhood. I didn't have any friends. I was isolated. I was lonely, and I didn't know who to turn to. So, with that, Home Start came along and changed my life.
Thank you very much, Caroline. That's really powerful. Ros, I think, working with volunteers, people come to you with lots of different experience. Do you see your volunteers growing confident?
Absolutely. As a former volunteer myself, I know just how anxious or even nervous or frightening even it can be making that initial call. And it's very common for our volunteers, particularly the newly trained ones, to feel nervous on that initial chat with the family. But during the course of building a professional friendship with them and gaining an understanding of the issues that they face, their confidence builds. And even our most experienced volunteers that have been with us for decades, who were used to home visiting prior to lockdown, but they lacked confidence when they asked us to start supporting by telephone. They weren't keen, they really liked the face-to-face, but they can now see just how this has benefited families during lockdown and feel more confident themselves.
Thank you. Claire, can you tell us a bit about the benefits to you as a volunteer?
Absolutely. Well, it's nice to have a structure as well, and sort of something to focus my attention on with my new time available. I also thought I could share my skills meeting people and feeling very much part of the Home Start team was really important to me as well. On a personal level, sort of widening my personal interests and horizons and skills through the training that Home Start offers its volunteers has been really important. And I think I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned the importance of listening and being non-judgmental in any contact I have with people, which I think is a really important skill to learn. It's been a real privilege to sort of begin this journey with Home Start and walk alongside families that are feeling challenges at the moment.
Thank you very much, Claire. Ros, I'm guessing it's not easy all the time for volunteers. They're working in some really challenging situations. It can have a bit of an impact on their emotional well-being, as well as being good for their emotional well-being. As a coordinator, how would you support somebody that was struggling?
Okay. So our volunteers are trained and matched to families, taking into account any particular issues which they have reported to us that they may find emotionally challenging. During the course of supporting a family, the volunteer finds their role challenging. The coordinating team are always available to talk through any issues they have. There's also a professional service which is available to staff and volunteers should they feel the need to access it.
Thank you. Jean, is there a time that volunteering isn't right for somebody?
Yes, that's right. I mean, you've got to be able to make sure that you've got some time in your diary that you can fit volunteering in, because it is a commitment. Whether you're a phone volunteer and giving 1 hour a week, for example, or maybe a home visiting volunteer where it could be 2 to 3 hours per week, once you make that commitment with the family, they're expecting to see you every week on that basis. And sometimes I know when I was working full-time and I was bringing up my family, I would have struggled to fit all of that in. I'd have been really juggling. And so I think everybody's got to ask themselves, is the time right for them? And if it is right, and they really want to share their experience and their life experience with another family, it could still be when the children are at school, they've got a little bit of time on their hands, and that would work. But I think it is really important that they think, what is the commitment that they're giving to that family, because they don't want to let that family down.
Thanks, Jean. And Caroline, I'm guessing that time was right for you because you've recently joined our Board of Trustees. Do you want to tell us a bit about why you decided to volunteer with Home Start?
For me personally, as one of the reasons I decided to join Home Start was just to give back to the community, just to give back, to appreciate for the support I received, because it just gives you that full fulfillment, that sense of belonging as well. It gives you identity. You've got an organization like Home Start, and you can it gives you a sense of belonging. You can associate yourself with Home Start. And as well, it just makes a difference. There's so much going on out there, and people need help. And whatever skills, experience, and even as a service user, because I'm one of the beneficiaries, I'm ready to speak to any family that would feel uncomfortable. Because it's not just an easy thing to accept the support that is offered. So yeah, it's a nice thing to give back. It gives me a sense of purpose in life. So yeah.
Thanks, Caroline. That's really helpful. Now, a question that anyone can answer. So just wave at me if you think you can answer this one. What would you say to somebody that said, as volunteers, you just do-gooders, just going around to save people? What would you say to that?
I'll jump in.
Go for it, Roz.
I think, yeah, I can understand how from the outside you could have that perception that we all want to go crusading around and rescuing everybody. But actually, I think it's a cliche when we say, but it's true, you get out what you put in, and actually giving your time, however little or much that you have to spare each week, and that commitment to supporting families and building that relationship is hugely beneficial for our own well-being. And as I say, I've previously been a volunteer, and it's the same in my coordinating role. I get to speak to families and volunteers, and it is really, really beneficial for my mental health, certainly.
Thank you. We've got a question in the Q&As. So somebody's asked, should volunteering be incentivised in terms of within wages or a tax relief? What do you think about that?
I think that would take away some of the pleasure aspect in terms of the reward that you get back out of it. The fact that you are giving some time, it doesn't need to necessarily have monetary payment back. But for example, if our volunteers, when we're doing the home visiting, we reimburse any travel expenses or any additional costs that volunteer may have incurred for that particular event, family. But I think the fact that you're just giving your time, and I know time has a price and all the rest of it, but giving that time does make you feel good, because it helps somebody else, and there's no cost to that. And what's the value of that when it might help somebody else get back on their feet, become more resilient?
Thank you. That's really, really helpful. And I think, I know from leading Home Start sometimes that volunteering becomes a big part of people's lives. We've got volunteers that have been with us for kind of 15 plus years as volunteers, but they're as equally valued as somebody that has been with us for, 6 months, a year. Claire, could you tell us a bit about the support that you've had starting as a volunteer, something about the training that you've received, and if it gave you the confidence to take that volunteering forward?
Absolutely. Well, my journey started with a telephone call with Jean, actually, and finding out more about Home Start and what the role of a volunteer would be. And then I was placed on a training course, which was really thorough, really interactive, even though it was on Zoom, and allowed me to meet other volunteers and also to meet other coordinators, which was great, and to understand safeguarding responsibilities and my role as a volunteer and being non-judgmental, and as I said earlier, being a reflective listener. And I think those skills really helped me reflect on how I would support families and how I'd work with them. There are lots of training opportunities as well within Home Start, and hopefully I will be doing some face-to-face training in the near future, and I'm looking forward to that. Once I was working with a family, I think there was a lot of thought given to matching skills of the volunteers with families, and you could have the opportunity of saying, well, I'm not sure that worked for me, but actually the families I were given really built on my skills, and I sort of really appreciated that. I think the peer support that Home Start offer as well, where you get the opportunity to discuss in a general ways with other volunteers any of the sort of difficulties, and the coordinator is always there as a point of reference to to speak with about any issues that you might have, and also the sort of clear paths of any safeguarding concerns and things. So I feel very supported as a volunteer, and I've had the privilege to work with Roz as a coordinator. So yeah, lots of positives.
Thank you. So I've got another question in the chat that probably, Roz, I think that you're going to be the person that answers this, but I may be wrong. So the question is, do we support families or do we support parents where they've got new babies that they're struggling with, that may be crying excessively, and do we do that? And if we do, what type of support can be offered?
Okay, so yes, we do have an age remit, basically 0 or pre-birth up to the age of 12, but we certainly support families that have older children as well within the family unit, as long as we're within that remit. In terms of, new mums or expecting mums, we sometimes work as part of a team, so we will work as a team with the health visitor or with the midwife, and any other services that are involved and agencies involved, and we create a network to support the family. But yes, certainly we work with children of all ages, say 0 to 12 usually.
Thanks, Roz. Caroline, when you were being supported, who was in control of that support? Was it you or was it the volunteer?
I was in control. As Claire mentioned about, matchmaking and all. So before you get the support, you'll have someone come to your house and assess your needs, and you'll be able as well to discuss your wishes and your dislikes. And in that form, you've got the control. It's really personalized, it's personal centered, and you're leading the support. Yeah.
Thank you, that's really helpful. Caroline, I'm going to ask you another question, sorry. What would you tell somebody if they were considering volunteering but maybe needed a little nudge in the right direction?
Mm-hmm. Volunteering is it's a good way of giving back to the society. It is a good way of using your skills, your experiences. We've got so many people, families, and even organizations out there that may need your ideas, may need your expertise, your experience, and it's just fulfilling. It's just a way of, it just gives you a sense of belonging. And it's really, it may not be monetary terms, as Jean said, you may not receive any reward in terms of monetary, but it's just rewarding in itself. It's just very rewarding, yeah.
Thanks, Caroline. Jean, if somebody is thinking of volunteering, what type of commitment do they need to give?
Okay, so if you'd like to become a phone volunteer for Home Start, we're suggesting about an hour a week. And so that would include the time that you spend with the family. We'd typically expect maybe 30-40 minutes, plus a bit of write-up time just to keep your coordinator in touch with how things are going with the family. Sometimes, from my own personal experience, sometimes I've supported a family where we've talked for, an hour, 90 minutes quite easily, and it depends on that relationship that you build. If you're doing home visiting, then we would ask that you are putting aside maybe 2 to 3 hours, and that would include travelling time and write-up time again. But to make it worthwhile, that you might be travelling sort of 4 or 5 miles away, and again, your expenses would be covered with any travelling cost, then it's basically half a day a week if you've got the time to do that. And that can fit in from 8 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. in the evening. And in some cases, some volunteers do a little bit of support on a Saturday morning as well. But so that time can be managed. It's done in agreement with you and the family. So we make that work for both parties.
Thanks, Jean. And Ros, I think this will probably be my final question. But is there an ideal volunteer, or anybody thinking about the diversity of your volunteers? Do you have a diverse range of volunteers? Can anybody do it? Who would that be?
Absolutely, yeah. There is. We don't have an ideal volunteer. There is no such beast. But yeah, we have wide ranges of ages. Obviously, people with time to spare on their hands perhaps might be in the older age brackets, and they have a wealth of experience and knowledge, which we appreciate that they bring to the role. But we also have younger volunteers as well, some as young as sort of late teens and early 20s, because we have young mums and they have as much experience and knowledge to give in those arenas. And also some of our family referrals can be young mums. We have male volunteers. I currently have an older male volunteer supporting a mum and her son who isn't currently attending school, and it works well for them. It's a great match, and that's really pleasing to see. So some of the sort of the matches or referrals that we think might happen, when we talk through allocation and we talk through, who is available as a volunteer, there are all kinds of matches going on, and that's why we need that diversity. We need different cultures, we need different religious backgrounds, we need everything, because somebody always has something to bring to volunteering.
Thank you very much, Ros. And thank you so much to all of our panelists. That's been really, really helpful. And of course, if you've got any additional questions that we can help you answer, just pop them in the chat and we'll try and get those answered. I've just been panned over to Jean to say her goodbyes and do a final roundup.
Yeah. So I think everybody will notice I've got a QR code just behind me. And so if you're interested in volunteering with Home Start, please do contact us. That particular QR code will take you to our website, which is homestartinsuffolk.org, and the volunteering tab. And as I said, volunteering gives you a real sense of purpose in life. It does make your emotional well-being stronger. And I think if that happens, you can meet new people, learn new skills, feel more connected to the community that you live in as well. So it's a very, very positive experience, I think, for everyone around. So I look forward to perhaps speaking to 1 or 2 people on the call today and answer any further questions that you may have.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I've got a further question, actually. The really good discussion, by the way, really enjoyed that. So if, let's say, for instance, our business, Archon, if we wanted, I think there's probably a willingness from a lot of people to think, we'd love to do a bit of volunteering where we can. Where do you go? Well, I know obviously, so we know now how we can volunteer for Home Start in Suffolk. Is there any kind of collective place where you can discover what the volunteering opportunities are in Suffolk?
Absolutely, Brad. Yeah, there is loads. I mean, some will just be out there and you'll see them in the East Anglian, the Star or whatever. Yeah. But a really good place to go is Community Action Suffolk, which is an infrastructure organisation that supports the voluntary sector as a whole across the county. And they have, in their Volunteer in Suffolk site, they'll have a number of opportunities that are available. And I think it is really important to remember there are so many opportunities out there, and it's about getting the right fit. You might explore 20 opportunities and think this isn't for me, and then you find that kind of ideal opportunity. And I think it's really important to keep looking until you find something that's that perfect fit.
Great. Okay, so that's the Community Action Suffolk website. So anyone who's watching, who's interested, pay it a visit, or go to the Home Start website and explore it further.